The bustling chatter of the upscale Manhattan restaurant was almost deafening as 25-year-old Rachel Carter expertly balanced a tray of drinks in one hand and scribbled down an order with the other. Rachel had worked at the restaurant for 3 years, juggling double shifts to save enough money for her dream of opening a small bakery. It wasn't glamorous, but Rachel had become a favorite among regulars for her warm smile and sharp wit. On a cold Tuesday evening, the door swung open, and in walked a man who looked vaguely familiar. He wore a black hoodie and sunglasses, trying to blend in, but his towering figure made it impossible. Rachel didn't think much of it until she approached his table. "Hey there, what can I get you?" she asked, her customer service smile firmly in place. The man pulled down his hood slightly, and Rachel's eyes widened in shock. It was none other than Mason Knight, the Hollywood superstar. "I'll just have a black coffee, please," he said softly, clearly hoping to keep a low profile. Rachel nodded, her excitement bubbling beneath the surface. She fetched his coffee and returned quickly, whispering, "I won't tell anyone, but it's an honor to serve you." Mason chuckled. "Thanks. I appreciate that." As the evening wore on, Rachel noticed a growing commotion. Some diners began snapping pictures and whispering. Before long, the restaurant manager, Alan, stormed over. "Rachel," he hissed, "what did I tell you about fraternizing with customers, especially VIPs?" "I didn't," she replied, stunned. "He's just having coffee." Alan wasn't convinced. "Get him out of here quietly now. We don't want this circus disrupting our paying customers." Rachel hesitated. She looked at Mason, who seemed uncomfortable but calm. "I'm sorry, Mr. Knight," she said. "Management is asking if you could perhaps finish your coffee elsewhere." Mason stood, his face unreadable. "No problem. Thanks for the coffee." He left without a fuss, but Rachel's heart sank. The next day, Rachel was called into Alan's office. "You've put this restaurant in jeopardy," he barked. "Do you know how many reservations we lost last night because of your little stunt? You're fired." Tears pricked Rachel's eyes, but she held her head high. "I didn't do anything wrong, Alan, and you know it." She packed her things and left, her dream of a bakery seeming further away than ever. The following morning, Rachel was woken by a loud knock at her apartment door. Groggy and still in her pajamas, she opened it to find a man in a sharp suit standing there. "Miss Rachel Carter?" "Yes. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Mason Knight. He'd like to meet with you." Rachel's heart skipped a beat. "Is this a joke?" The man smiled. "Not at all. He asked me to personally escort you to his office." Still in disbelief, Rachel quickly got dressed and followed the man to a sleek black SUV. They drove to a towering building downtown. Inside, Rachel was led to a lavish office where Mason sat casually sipping coffee. "Rachel, come on in," he said warmly. "Mr. Knight, I don't understand," she stammered. "I heard what happened after I left the restaurant," he began, his tone serious. "You stood up for me even when it cost you your job. That kind of integrity is rare." Rachel shook her head. "I just did what I thought was right. That's all." Mason smiled. "And that's why I want to help you." He gestured to a folder on the table. "Inside that folder is a business proposal. I heard about your dream to open a bakery. I want to make it happen. Consider this an investment in someone I believe in." Rachel's jaw dropped. You're serious?" "Dead serious," Mason said. "I've already secured a prime location for you. All you need to do is say yes." Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she nodded. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." Weeks later, Rachel stood outside her brand-new bakery. The sign above read, "Rachel's Sweet Escape," in elegant gold lettering. The grand opening was a huge success, with a line of customers stretching around the block. True to his word, Mason showed up, cutting the ribbon and posing for pictures with Rachel. From that day on, Rachel's life changed forever. Her bakery became a local sensation, and her story inspired countless others. As she stood behind the counter serving her famous cinnamon rolls, Rachel couldn't help but think that sometimes doing the right thing really does pay off. But as her dream came to life, shadows from her past crept closer, threatening to undo everything she had worked for. One late evening, as Rachel finished cleaning the bakery, a black SUV pulled up outside. The tinted windows and ominous presence immediately set her on edge. The door opened, and out stepped Alan, her former manager. Well, 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 he sneered, stepping inside. Look who's suddenly living the high life. Rachel froze. What are you doing here, Alan? I'm just here to see how far you've gotten after you embarrassed me and ruined the restaurant's reputation, he said, his voice dripping with mockery. Did you really think you'd get away with making me look bad? Rachel took a deep breath, her hands trembling. I didn't do anything to you. You fired me for standing up for someone, and I moved on. So should you. Alan's smirk deepened. Oh, I have, but I couldn't resist a little payback. Before Rachel could respond, two men entered the bakery behind him, their large frames blocking the doorway. They carried an air of menace that made Rachel's heart race. What do you want? She asked, her voice steady despite the fear creeping in. Alan leaned in, his tone low and threatening. A little compensation. After all, you wouldn't be here without me, right? How about 50% of your profits? Call it a partnership. Rachel's stomach churned. You're insane. Get out of my bakery. Alan's expression darkened. Think carefully. Rachel, I can make life very difficult for you. Or you can cooperate and we'll both benefit. At that moment, the sound of an engine roared outside, followed by the unmistakable voice of Mason Knight. Rachel, you okay in there? Alan's smug demeanor faltered as Mason walked in, his towering presence commanding the room. His sharp gaze swept over Alan and his goons. Who's this? Mason asked Rachel, his voice calm but laced with authority. Just someone who doesn't understand the word no, Rachel replied, her confidence returning. Mason turned to Alan, his smile cold and calculated. I don't know who you think you are, but you're in the wrong place. Buddy, leave now. Alan scoffed, trying to save face. This has nothing to do with you. Knight, stay out of it. Mason stepped closer, towering over Alan. It has everything to do with me. Rachel is under my protection. You want to mess with her, you'll be messing with me. And I promise you don't want that. Alan's confidence crumbled as he realized the situation was spiraling out of his control. He signaled to his goons, and they quickly backed out of the bakery. This isn't over, Alan muttered, retreating as the door slammed shut behind them. Rachel let out a shaky breath. Thank you, she whispered, tears of relief streaming down her face. Mason placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You don't need to thank me, Rachel, but I think it's time we had some extra security around here. The next day, Mason arranged for a top-notch security system and even hired off-duty police officers to patrol the bakery. News of the incident spread, but instead of scaring customers away, it drew more support for Rachel's business. However, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that Alan wouldn't give up so easily, and she was right. 1 week later, late at night, an alarm blared through the bakery. Rachel, at home and startled awake, grabbed her phone and checked the security feed. Her blood ran cold as she saw two masked figures inside, smashing display cases and spray-painting hateful messages on the walls. She immediately called the police, but before they could arrive, Mason showed up with his own team of private security. They apprehended the intruders, who turned out to be none other than Alan's hired thugs. Alan was arrested, and the story made headlines. The public rallied around Rachel, condemning Alan's actions and turning her bakery into a symbol of resilience. Business boomed like never before, and Rachel's determination only grew stronger. As she stood outside her bakery one evening, looking at the crowd of loyal customers, Rachel felt a sense of triumph she'd never known before. You okay? Mason asked, walking up beside her. Rachel smiled. Better than okay. I'm ready for whatever comes next. As Rachel's journey shows, standing up for what's right can lead to unexpected challenges and incredible rewards. What would you do if you were in Rachel's shoes? Would you have risked your job to help someone in need? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of resilience and courage, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring and emotional stories like this. See you in the next video.